Because it happens all the time. Someone could be like, I want to start a business. Oh, you don't have a degree. You don't have this. You don't have the capital. The economy, this isn't the right economy to start a business. And they're going to put all the reasons why they won't. Like, that's got nothing to do with you. Like, if you have the vision and you have your game plan and you got the perseverance to see it through, you can dive in at any given time. But too many times we let other people derail us from our goals.
Hello and welcome back to Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and our guest today is Robert Foster. And he is a lot of things. It's very interesting. He's a fitness manager, a storytelling coach, and a podcast host of Shut Up and Grind. And you just announced you're also an author as of 2 months ago. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So what's your book? Tell us a little bit about your book before we get into more details.
So my book is also titled Shut Up and Grind, and it focuses on overcoming self-doubt and the fear of public speaking. So it's about resolving anything that's happened in your past, whether it was childhood trauma, adult trauma, teenage trauma, whatever it was. 'Cause a lot of people have unresolved things going on within them. And so this isn't a book where you just pick up and just read about my life. I mean, yeah, I do share my backstories in there as well. But there's 13 worksheets built in there to help guide people through, I call it a journey of self-discovery. Like, for example, there's one that's a pain assessment where you'll take some of the worst things that you've been through in your life and we expand on it, and I help people find the teachable moments in those events. Because so many times people stay stuck in the what happened.
Yes.
Like I watched my father die. Right? If I get stuck on the moment that I watched him take his last breath, I'm never going to heal from it. Mm-hmm. So I was able to move myself into a place of gratitude. So with these worksheets, I live through these. Like this isn't something that I learned in a book, and I'm not knocking education.
Right.
These are things that I actually went through and that I helped other people go through. And so if people go through it top to bottom, they're gonna master their life stories, and then what you do with it is up to you. Mm-hmm. Like some people might use it just for healing from whatever it's for. Some people might take those teachable moments and work with other people, or start a blog, podcast, become a speaker. Like there's so many different options, and like if you're a leader, it'll help you better connect with your team because you're gonna understand how to relate your stories to what your workers are going through. So I'm very excited as more and more of these are being sold, and the feedback that I'm getting from it, it's awesome.
Yeah, and just knowing that you're putting that out there and it's helping people, right? There's no amount of money that can pay you for that feeling of being able to help people. Before we started recording, though, I had asked you if you ever had any trauma in your childhood, because what we're going to share is a lot of trauma that happened in your adult life. And you did share you had a little trauma, not with your family, but just some other stuff. And it kind of makes sense. But let me tell you, people, he's been through a lot and he's overcome quite a bit. And that's a lot what we're going to share about today. So some of the things that he's overcome, just a few of these things, are career-ending knee injury, homelessness, divorce, donating a kidney to his sister, and then rebuilding your life after losing everything during the pandemic. So that's a lot. Just one of those is traumatic, but you've got several here. So Tell us about your story. What happened?
Well, to really understand the magnitude of the stories, you got to go all the way back to the beginning. So I'm the youngest of seven, right? And we were all athletes. And so, like, this really wasn't trauma, but it was just things that bothered me. Because, like, my older siblings, they were already excelling, because they're older than I am. They were already through puberty. They already had their grown-up big bodies, big, strong bodies. And I was the odd person out. I was short, I was scrawny, and I was like, how come my brothers are big and muscular and this is me, right? And so I was constantly labeled so-and-so's little brother.
Yes.
And I hated that.
Me too.
With a passion.
Me too.
With an absolute passion. So, like, people always ask me, like, even now, because I'm 50 now, and they're like, how are you so competitive? I was like, because I had to be, to make a name for myself. It's like, I just wanted to be known as Robert. I didn't want to be Monique's little brother, Ralph's little brother. Like, I heard that, like, my entire life. Yeah. And it wasn't until I got my first headline in the newspaper where that chip started to come off of my shoulder. because it's like now I'm getting my shine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that drive fueled me. And also during that, I used to have a bad stutter. And it's just ironic that I'm a speaker now because I was scared to death. I was so scared. I actually
Mm-hmm.
shared a story in the first chapter of my book about in sixth grade, we had to do a poetry contest. So you had to get up on stage in front of the entire school and talk about stressed out. Like I did not
Yeah.
want to do it. I was so afraid. I'm like, I'm going to get teased right off of that stage. But I guess because I memorized it, I nailed it. I think I may have stammered once at the very end. And I remember when my mother started reading my book, she texted me. She was like, I just started reading and I'm already in tears because she
Oh.
remembered leading up to that event. Like
Mm-hmm.
she was afraid for me because I literally couldn't say mom. It was like, like it was that bad.
Oh.
Like I had to go to speech therapy for 2 years to teach myself to slow down. And even now in my adult life, if I get really excited, I'll catch
Mm-hmm.
myself stumbling over my words. But
Yeah.
but that affects every area of my life because everywhere I go, I have to talk, right? And when you have this impediment and you're getting teased constantly. So dealing with that, trying to forge my own path in life. And then the first major setback I had was in 10th grade. I was playing basketball and I went up and I slam dunked on my friend. And then I guess karma hit me because I'm taunting him as I'm hanging from the rim. When I dropped, I must have landed weird. I ended up slipping 2 discs in my back.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I had to rehab for that. And of course, this is right before track season, my primary sport. And so I had to miss like 2/3 of that season. And then I ended up not qualifying for states when I was able to come back.
Mm.
And I was heated. And that summer was when this version of me was being built. That summer, I went nuts with training. I grew 6 inches in 4 months, and so
Oh.
I finally caught up to where my brothers were. But I grew like 6 inches. I dedicated myself to training. I didn't date. I wasn't hanging out with my friends. Like I was zeroed in on becoming the best version of myself. Because in that 10th grade, when I knocked that bar down, in the grand scheme of life, is it a big deal? No. But to me, it
Mm-hmm.
was. It was. When I didn't qualify, I had a chance to put myself in with the tops in the state, and I blew the opportunity. And so now everything in my life, I see it as a challenge. Even all of the setbacks, like all the things that you listed that I've gone through, and all of it, it's a challenge. And so when I'm working with clients now, no matter what it is they want to do, we look at it through the lens of a competitor. And then so those people are my
Mm.
target clients, like people that have that athletic background or that business background where you have to be dialed in, you have to be disciplined. And all of that stems from everything that I went through growing up.
Yeah, that's really powerful though, because what you were saying earlier about your worksheets and how I love that. Wait, I'm going to go back to the challenge thing because that's what's sticking out to me when you were sharing with that you were to look at it as a challenge. That is so enlightening for me because I was that person that would look at everything not as a challenge but as a defeat. And here's why for me. Here was my mindset. I had a brother who was abusive towards me, and he was bigger than me, a lot bigger than me, and older than me. And he would always suck me into doing something where he's like, no, 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 you'll win this time. You'll win this time. No, 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 you'll win this time. And then he would do something to pull me in and I'd go, okay. And then he would win and then he would rub it in my face. So, it's
Yeah.
interesting because I was just sharing this story with my husband just about a week ago. And I said, and what that did for me is I am not competitive with other people. I'm competitive within myself. I
Mm.
drive myself. But if there's an opportunity, I'm better now that I'm older and I've done some healing, but I still don't want to do it. I still don't want to go and compete against somebody else. I compete against myself. And so to hear that you can take that defeat where I'm going into this, I know I'm going to be defeated. I know I'm going to be defeated on this one. I know it every time. And I go into it instead saying, hey, this is a challenge for me, completely changes my mindset and actually does motivate me to go, okay, let me look at this instead of looking at it as defeat.
Yes.
Hey, thank you for listening so far. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you won't ever miss an episode.
Yeah, and to clarify something you said earlier, you said career-ending knee injury. So originally, the doctors said I was never going to run or jump again. And so when I first heard that, of course, at the time I have 5 kids, right? And at the time they were young. They were 10, 7, 2, and I had twins who were 4 months old.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I immediately went to the dark side. Like, you're trying to tell me I won't be able to like go rock climbing with the kids. Or I won't be able to play volleyball or basketball or just run around in the playground. Like, I just started getting into that negative headspace,
Yeah.
started tearing up. And
Mhm.
then I looked up at my now ex, like, and she had tears in her eyes too, because she knew that hearing that news was devastating for me. But then I said, wait a minute, we haven't even done the surgery yet. It's like, how does he know
Yeah.
I'm never gonna run or jump again? It's like, yeah, you can take averages, but there's also above averages and there's also extra credit. Like I said, so going switch switching right back into that mode. And I
Yes.
said, you don't know me like that. And he says, there's probably maybe a 10% chance. I said, well, I'm gonna be in that 10%. I was like, you guys take care of stitching me back up. I'll take care of how I come back from this. And it took about 4.5 months for me to run again. Now, to be fair, I looked like a newborn giraffe, but I was still able to get both feet.
Oh.
I was able to get both feet off the floor and not fall over. So when I
Oh.
did that, I was like, I'm making a full comeback. I know. And at the
Yeah.
time, I had complete atrophy in two of my quadricep muscles.
Mhm.
So I had to go e-stim, electric stim. They
Mhm.
told me minimum 3 hours a day. They did not give me a maximum. So when I wasn't working, that thing stayed on my leg all day long. And people were asking, like, are you doing too much? I think you're doing too much. I said, have you ever dealt with this injury? No, then shut up. Okay. He's like, I got this. I got this. Unless you've come back from this, I don't want to hear from you. Right. I ran into a guy in Walmart who he saw my big knee brace and he's like, hey, what happened? I was like, patella tendon rupture. And he's like, oh, he's like, I had that too. And he's like, you're not going to be able to bend your leg past that. And it was like barely
Mhm.
90 degrees. I was like, I'm already past that, because I took I took my training seriously. Like I said, when I wasn't working, I was working on it, doing
Mhm.
mobility, flexibility, because I promise I'm going to be in that 10%. And since that diagnosis, and I'm not saying this to brag, but since that diagnosis, I've done 191 obstacle races.
Holy
I've done
cow.
a 30-mile Spartan Ultra. I ran a half marathon. I compete. Now, the injury happened during a track meet, during a high jump. When I
Mm.
planted to jump, my kneecap just ripped. It just
Oof.
ripped right away. Yeah, it
Mm,
was it was a
mm, mm,
bad,
mm.
bad injury. But I've competed in 22 track meets, and I have 18 gold medals, and I'm undefeated in the high jump since that diagnosis.
Oh my goodness. And did you,
And
have you shared that with your doctor?
oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. I ran into him at a different clinic. I just happened to run into him, and honestly, I said, "Thanks for lighting that fire under me." Right? And he kind of looked at me at first, I'm like, "Do you remember me?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You were the knee injury." I was like, "Yeah." Yeah. Do you remember what you told me? And he's like, "I do." I was like, just so you
Watch
know,
this.
I'm in that 10%. Yeah, like I'm in that 10%. But like when I share that, I always throw in to tell people like I'm not sharing that to flex. That's not what it's about.
Right,
It's
right.
about letting people know not to let other people tell you what you're capable of. It's like
Correct.
that's why I share that story because it
Mhm.
happens all the time. Someone could be like, "I want to start a business." Oh, you don't have a degree. You don't have this. You don't have the capital. The economy. This isn't the right economy to start a business, and they're gonna put all the reasons why they won't. Like that's got nothing to do with you. Like if
Right,
you have
right.
the vision and you have your game plan and you got the perseverance to see it through, you can dive in at any given time. But too many times we let other people derail us from our goals.
Well, and that's the thing. And I think that people have really the best intentions, but that is when you start something new or you have an injury like that or you have something happen in your life, you have a lot of people that come up with their own opinions. And I've learned that as well, that I don't when I make up my mind how I'm going to do something for me, that's going to be, I feel best for me. I'm the same way. I don't let anybody else come along and tell me different. I
Yeah,
stop them. I don't even let them share that with me. I tell them what I'm doing. I say, you know what, I appreciate it, but you know what, I've got this. I've got this.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people always say, because I've had I've had three total knee surgeries, so two on the one and then one on the right one, and people always say you're gonna end up in a wheelchair because like I don't stop, I do all the things,
Yeah.
and I said when my time is up, my body's gonna be exhausted because I'm doing everything that I want to do, and so when they say that you're gonna end up in a wheelchair, I said you know what they have, wheelchair Olympics.
I'll just move on to that. I'll take that challenge on. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm right there with you. I've had 4 knee surgeries, so I
Oh
get
wow.
it. And yeah, they say things to me and I'm like, "Really? Watch me. Watch me."
Mm-hmm.
Because as bad as my
Exactly.
knee is, I shouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing, but I'm doing them, you know?
Yeah,
I'm not going to be
absolutely.
that
Like
person.
I posted on social media a couple years ago. I was long jump training, and I just happened to catch a really good angle of me like soaring in the air, and so I captured it where they told me I'd never jump again. So I decided to fly.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's great. I love that's exactly what you've done. But you have ran and you're flying.
Yep.
So, okay, so how did you get to homelessness? So now, or which came first, divorce or homelessness?
Divorce was like almost it was 20 years ago.
Okay. Okay. So you
Yeah.
survived your divorce.
Yeah, I survived. Let me tell you, I chalked one up for the fellas with that one because I got custody of the kids. She paid
Oh,
me child support, and she moved out of the house. So
okay.
it just
Well,
she didn't push back on anything because like I expected a fight with the kids.
yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm keeping the kids. She's like, okay. That was the whole
Okay.
conversation about the kids. Like, all right then. So
Wow.
that
Okay.
that was actually pretty smooth sailing. I mean, even messier was. Now we weren't married, but my younger because she was the mom of my two older kids, and then there's a different mom for my younger three. It's
Hmm.
like we were never married, but we were together 13 years. I mean
Okay.
that one was a little uglier, but we still did everything outside of court though, because I was like, I train enough people here at the gym, enough people that have gone through divorce, and I hear the stories and I hear
Yeah.
the battles going back and forth in the court and calling the lawyers. I was like, do you want to deal with that? I was like, we
I
can be grown
know.
ups, right? We can be grown ups about this. It's like if you need a weekend, I'll take the kids. If I need a weekend, you take the kids.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a fight. It's like
Should be a
our
fight, especially
relationship
for the
is
kids.
over. Exactly, exactly. Like our relationship is over. It's like you deserve happiness, right? If you need a weekend, I'm not going to be spiteful. Like I've seen so many people get spiteful over that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
And they
Oh, well,
use the
he's going
kids.
out with his girlfriend. Like, so let him. Like, he's not with you anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Move
So why does
on.
that bother you, right? You got to let
Mhm.
it go. So in that regard, we get along great. The kids never talk badly about her new husband. So that's a score. They're in a good,
Mhm.
safe, stable environment. And
Right.
like just like everything else in life, I find the positive parts.
Yeah.
Like the other stuff, it doesn't matter anymore. It's like you're not together. Like, why are you fighting? It's like you got divorced, so you don't have to fight anymore, right? Just
Yeah.
focus on the good, focus on the positive, and be there for the kids. Like that's what gets lost in all that spite is that the kids are the ones
Yeah.
that are having their childhood trauma unfold right in front of their eyes.
Exactly. But what that tells me about you is that shows that you've done the work. You've done a lot of
Yes.
work on yourself to be able to do that because, you know, I did the same thing. I made it easy because I didn't want the last thing I wanted to do is stir up trauma and drama for anybody else in my life, right? Especially for my son, especially for, the other people in my life that I loved, my in-laws and everybody like that. I love them and I didn't want to create that kind of strife for everybody. I wanted to make it as smooth as possible. But somebody who is hurting inside and somebody who's got a lot of unhealed stuff, that is the result, is that all that anger and stuff that's stirring up inside of them that hasn't been resolved is going to come out in a situation like a divorce where you're going to get triggered left and right. And unfortunately, the carnage is with the kids, right? The kids are the ones that end up paying the price the most, and everybody gets traumatized in it. So that just shows, I just wanted to say that, I'm sure you knew that, but I wanted to share with the audience that that just shows when you've done the work, that when you do get in a situation that is highly emotional, it can get managed. It can be in everybody's best interest. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be in everybody's best interest.
Absolutely.
So, people need to see that this shows that what healing does is it enables you to manage things in your life a lot better, healthier, and everybody can benefit from it. So,
Yes, like even here at the gym, right? Just to piggyback on that, is like when I make up the trainings, I equate what they're going through here to everyday life. Like we were doing a
right.
wall sit, and one of the women kept stopping. I was like, "You had 3 children, and you're trying to tell me you can't hold a 2-minute wall sit?" Like
So
when you're
true.
raising 3 kids, right? Like you're gonna let a 2-minute wall sit break you when you got 3 kids at you every single day? I'm like, come on now. And it's like, then they let the trivial things break them, And
It's true.
what I found through healing is since I started speaking more on podcasts, I don't hold anything back. I tell people, listen, this is my life right here. This is what I've been through. This is what happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because when you just fully self accept everything that happened, you can move on. It's when you hold it inside and then it festers and then it festers. And then one day that spoon in the sink is going to set you off the deep end. And we
Yes.
know it's not about the spoon. And I brought that up because I was working with a woman years ago. And I know she and her husband, they were having issues. And she said she was out, the husband was home playing on the computer and there was a spoon in the sink and it set off this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I told her, I was like, you realize this is not about the spoon. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. It
the
was much
spoon
deeper than the
was the
spoon.
final. Yes, like the spoon was the final thing that set you off, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
about the spoon. I said you guys need to get together and you need to tell him what bothers you. Okay, men, for all the women listening out there, we don't get hints. Okay, we don't get them. Tell
It's
us.
true.
Okay, we don't
It's
want to
true.
play the guessing game. We don't want to play the guessing game. If we say how are you and you say fine, we think you're fine. Okay, if you're not
Yes.
fine, tell us you're not fine and just talk to us because we don't get because
Yes.
a lot of these fights. I'm not saying it's all women's fault, but I'm just saying. But they say that a lot. Well, you should have known. Well, I didn't. Like if you
Yeah.
told me, I would have known. And
Yeah.
now
That's
we're in a fight, and we're not even fighting about the topic. we're fighting about the fact that I should have known.
everything. Everything
Yes,
else, everything else. Because as soon as that door opens up, then everything's going to come pouring out of what bugs her. Yeah, I quit doing that a long time ago. And and it's true. I mean, that's part of the art of communication. That's something that I think that we all
yes,
have to learn every day for the rest of our life is how to communicate. And I've learned
yes,
that with my husband too. And sometimes too, he's in his head when I'm talking to him, right? And so he's not always paying close attention. So I make it my responsibility to make sure that I have his attention when I have something important that I want to make sure that he understands, that he's not, drifting off and thinking about something else. He's got a lot going on. I make sure I have his attention. I make sure he hears me, and that's all of our jobs. That's not, and it's true. We can't expect anybody to be in our head. And that's kind of a passive aggressive way of communication, and it's very unhealthy. We should never assume that somebody else already knows what we're thinking or what we want or what we need, right? We have to say it.
yes.
We have to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was dating someone. This was probably about 7 years ago now, and we had made plans for like a Thursday afternoon. And now this is Monday, okay? And I wear a lot of hats. So
Oh yeah.
if I'm not doing something, I'm doing something else. Like right when I'm done with you, I host another show that I do about obstacle course racing and endurance events. So it's like I stop here, I'll grab a quick drink, I'm gonna run over to the other room, and then I'm hosting one. Then I leave there and I go down to track practice. Then after track practice, I have another show at 4:30, and then I have to train a high jumper at 6 p.m. So it's like I'm not always thinking about days from now. I'm thinking
Right.
today.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting through
So
today.
so she texts me and she's like, I'm looking forward to Thursday. And I was like, what's Thursday? Because I'm
Oh,
I'm still on today. Right. And
today.
she's like, what's Thursday? And she just went off the rails. And I was like, just tell me what Thursday is. I'm like, I'm clearly immersed in
Oh,
Monday. I'm immersed in Monday. And she's like, well, apparently you're not as excited about it as I am. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was literally lost. Because, like, I wasn't there. I'm working on something, and you text me with a random, I'm excited for Thursday. I didn't know what she was talking about. And so, yeah, it turned into a whole thing. Thursday never happened. We fought for like 2 weeks. And finally, I was like, you know what? This is not the one. Not the one
Yeah,
at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's oh God. And that's the art of texting too. There can be so many
That's true.
misunderstandings in text too. I mean, you
Yes.
just can't. It's hard enough to communicate with our mouths. It's, texting just takes it to a whole nother level. Goodness.
Yes. Because then,
But
because then people read it based on their emotion.
right,
Because
and
like I
their
could just
perception.
yes, yeah. Because I can say something so simple like "good night," but like if I don't put an exclamation point or an emoji or something like that or a
Yeah,
little heart, I'm mad. Like you, no,
yeah.
what do you mean? I'm saying good night.
I
So
agree. I
text can
agree.
get convoluted very quickly.
Yeah, the thing is, here's I this is a phrase that I've been using in my life for a few years now, and it's really helpful. Is going to things curious rather than judgmental.
Mm,
And it goes to a silly little text too. Why are you going into a judgmental? Oh, we didn't put a heart on it, or you didn't put an exclamation. Like, why are you putting so much effort into one text? Right? Let's not put so much effort. But that's part of the unhealed trauma that happens to us. And I'm saying this, people, because I used to do this. So I'm not saying this like I'm being judgmental with everybody. I did this very stuff. If you looked at me a funny way, because I was always on hypervigilance, right? I was always looking for something wrong. So it didn't take much for
yes.
me to always find something wrong. And then I would
Hmm.
ruminate on it and meditate on it. Next thing you know, I'm all upset and in a tizzy, and the other person has no clue why I'm upset,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Absolutely.
All
See,
part.
and I mean, I'm single now, so I don't have to worry about it. But before, like, I never gave access to my cell phone because like when mail comes to the house, you don't open my mail, right? So why
Yeah,
should
true,
you have
true.
access to my private conversations?
I
It's
agree.
like say if I have say if I need to vent, it's like you have your girlfriends, you vent, right? I
Right.
I shouldn't be a part of that conversation. So like, because I was debating someone about that, I said, all right, fine. I said the next time you go out with your girlfriends, you have me on Facetime while you guys are talking. And she's go, yes, see, because I'm not supposed to be part of that conversation. I don't even want to be part of that conversation.
Right.
So it's like if you go to my phone and I'm talking to someone about whatever, you're gonna try to interpret what those words mean. Like
Yeah.
case in point, right? I actually have a case in point. So a woman that I was training here, I guess she and her boyfriend got into it at their house. A few days prior, she sent me progress photos, right? And that's not uncommon. Like I get hundreds of
Oh,
pictures
right.
of girls in bikinis,
Sure.
like, but
Yeah.
that's part of it. It's progress photos. And
Right.
so all I wrote was looking great. Keep up the good work. That was all I wrote. So I guess so now she and the boyfriend, they're probably drunk. They're fighting,
Oh,
so she
yeah.
goes in the shower and he goes through her phone, and then he sees that and he sends me this long text
God.
like threatening to shoot me, and he's gonna come beat me up and all this
Oh,
other stuff, calling me names, calling her names. My first response was, I think you have the wrong person.
that's actually a
I
good
was like,
response.
yeah, I was like, I don't think this is meant for me. I was like, she sent me a progress photo and I said looking good. But he took it
Right.
as she's sending me half naked pictures and all this, like
Wow.
he put his own spin on it,
Spin. Yeah. His
and,
own
and that
story.
and that's why you have no business going through somebody else's phone. And people are like, oh, well, if you have nothing to hide, it's like you should have no reason to not trust.
Well, I'll tell you what my husband and I do. We have passwords to each other's stuff. He can get on, he can pick up my phone anytime. And, he doesn't pick up my phone. We don't look at each other's stuff, but we have each
Yeah,
other's passwords. He has access to all my stuff. I have access to all his. I have never felt the need to ever, that's just given me the security of knowing that if I needed to, I could, but he's never given me a
yeah,
reason for it,
yeah,
he does have my password, and there's times he'll get on my phone for something, or I'll hand it to him to look at something. I don't have any problem with it if he wants to, but you're right. I mean, there comes a point where you're crossing a line, I guess he was telling me about, my husband was telling me one time about a woman that he was dating for a little bit. And it was the same thing. She picked up his, I guess they were in the car or something, and she reached over and she said, well, I'm going to check out your phone. And she picked up his phone and she started going through it. And it was the same thing. He had nothing to hide, but it infuriated him that that's a boundary. That's a boundary. Like,
Yeah,
she
it's
didn't ask
invasion of
him, can I,
privacy.
yeah, she didn't ask him, hey, can I look at your phone? She said, I'm going to. And she started going through all his stuff, and that's crossing a, no, you don't go and grab someone's phone. You're right. It's, in my opinion, I feel the same way. It would be an invasion. I have nothing to hide, but it's an invasion of my privacy. I don't appreciate you coming over and telling me you think you have to check in on me. That's not okay.
Yeah, yeah, and even for like planning purposes, because this happened with my youngest three's mom, where we were planning a surprise birthday party for her. So we're outside playing and stuff, and her phone was inside, and she's like, "Ooh, let me have your phone." And we had a text chat going about the birthday party. So I was like, no." And then again, that
Oh,
spun into the whole. Well, what are you hiding? I'm like, no, just go and get your phone. I said, I just don't want you using my phone because up to that point, she had no clue. I mean, she still had no clue even the day of. But it was tough trying to coordinate with my family and her family, so that text thread was going like all day long.
oh
I'm like, if she
no.
opens up the phone, she's gonna see the chat bubble. You know,
And ruin
like
everything.
so I couldn't run that risk. So
Oh
like
gosh.
it's not always being shady. It's like
Right.
what if we're having like a whatever thing and you're not supposed to know about it yet. That's
Well,
one of those things though.
and it's really, I mean, when we're talking about like the woman that my husband dated and the woman that you dated, where they just feel it's necessary to pick up your phone, there's something going on with them, because
Mm,
that is not a healthy relationship to be in. If you feel that you need to check on your partner's phone or emails or listen in on them, there's something going on within you if you feel like you need to do that. Either the relationship isn't what it is, or there's something going on within you, and that's not what we want to be in. Because I'll tell you, I
absolutely
live
not.
in I'm in a marriage where we have 100% trust, and I didn't always have that, and I'm telling you, it's very freeing, very freeing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions about this episode, or really anything that has to do with trauma. So you can comment below, or you can reach out to me at asklisatickle@gmail.com. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. So you had asked me about the homelessness too, and
Yeah.
yeah, we kind of went off on
No, I
on the
think it was
tangent
good
on
stuff
the
we were
first part.
sharing, though. It was really good stuff.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Yeah, so how that happened, and it's stupid because I should have learned from the first time. So I had business partners, and when we first opened up the gym, not this one, I had a gym in a different part of Rhode Island, and they put up $33,000 unsecured. Now we did it on a handshake, right?
Wow.
We built a gym, we got the equipment, we got all the stuff, the permits and licenses. We had to install a new bathroom to bring it up to code and all that other stuff. But we did all of that work together. So we're going to fast forward to February of 2015, where they come in with the written agreement. And so I'm thumbing through it. And then as I thumb through, I was like, this doesn't fully reflect what we discussed. I said, because they were supposed to get 40% equity until we repaid the initial investment. And then it was going to drop to 20% for the life of the business. And he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, he's like, don't worry about that. He's like, this is just to make sure that you and Kelly don't try to walk away without paying us. And it made sense because, like I said, they put up the 33 grand and they co-signed the lease. So, like, if I walked away, they were on the hook for like 70 grand. So it's like they took that risk with me. I had no reason
Mm,
to not believe them.
sure.
So
I can see
just
that.
wanted to preface, like, I had no reason to. So anyway, so we fast forward a year and a half, and it was October of 2016 where I had said to them, so this next month, this next payment is going to bring us current, and then the equity drops. And they're like, what do you mean the equity drops? I was like, don't mess with me. I was like, you guys said when you got repaid, I said, I would never agree to give up 40% for the entire life of the company unless you gave me like 500 grand. Then I would give you that much, but not for 33,000. So anyway, that turned into a whole 18-month thing. And we got through that. and I should have known not to take people at their word. Okay, so now that we move into it, I'm in a different situation now, and I was at this gym for 5 years. Now I've seen other people come and go, and I saw the way the owner treated these other businesses, but he never did that to me, right? So after 5 years, I thought, all right, we'll be okay. You know, we got through the COVID times, and I did get behind on rent with him some, because again, we weren't doing classes,
Yeah,
and so
totally.
his
Yeah.
mindset was, well, my lease isn't stopping. Why should your rent stop? I'm like, well, I'm not using the facility, you know, and
Yeah.
still we didn't have a written agreement. So now I'm trying to rebuild, but just things were just moving slow. Like from having my own place to sharing again, it just was not ideal, and it was really tough to build up the PM classes there. So digging out of the hole was tough. So he also manages. Well, he owns a standalone gym. So I was like, all right, well, who's running that place? And so I went and did a walkthrough, and nobody's running that place. Like it needed an overhaul. So I was like, how about this? Like, how about I take control of that location. I'll run my classes out of there, but I'll implement a program there that will generate more than what I owe you. And he agreed. And again, I should have got it in writing. And then once we reached that point, we were actually going to merge the businesses, because I'm over the business part at this point. So we were going to merge, and then he was just going to cut me a check each week. And so it sounded good on paper. So we fast forward a few months. I have the place right where I want it. Memberships are coming in. I implement the programs. And by June, I have already generated what I owed them. And so now I'm texting them. You know, we're having meetings about merging and the pay structure, what that's going to look like. And then he's just like just dragging his feet on making it happen. I'm like, we're ready. Like the situation was fine, because I'll give him credit. He didn't micromanage me at all. It's like I had free reign to run this place any way I wanted to.
Oh,
And
nice.
so the last link was I needed to get paid, right? So part of that deal too was because like RBF Fitness was my gym. So part of the deal was I would run that location, but I would not actively build RBF. So
Mm.
like that, so I was good. I was to build up that business. So as I started losing people, like my money, because people don't join the gym forever, right? So as I
Right.
lose people, my income is getting lower and lower and lower, and now I'm starting to tap into savings and all that. But because I'm a forever optimist to a fault sometimes, I just believed that this situation was going to work out. I was like, so like once he starts paying me, we're fine. That's the last link. I can catch everything up, and life will be good. So then, at the gym, looking out the window, see a tow truck come in, and it takes my car. Okay, so
Oh.
that was the first step. Car is gone. Right. I text him like, I just lost my car. I'm like, can we speed up on this merger here? A couple weeks later, I get an eviction notice. Right. So now I'm like, things are getting like really real here. I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I drained my savings. I maxed out my credit cards. I'm like, this is not cool anymore. And I went through and I ran the numbers. Right. I had generated over $85,000 in that 10-month span. Okay. I think I owed them about 15 or so. So I generated far more than what
Mhm.
was owed. I tripled the membership. The place is cleaner than ever. The members are happier than ever. And it's like, why wouldn't you take care of that person that's making that happen for you? It's like you don't even
Mhm.
have to set foot in this place. And so now I get the 48-hour notice from my landlord. And to his credit, he did give me 6 extra weeks. Because I was like, dude, I'm in dire straits right now. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. And I get it. It's your house. You gotta do what you gotta do, for himself. And so I called Kelly. I was like, I need you to take the little kids, because we were doing 1 week on, 1 week off. Because like where we both lived was central to where they went to school. So I was like, they're gonna have to come and stay with you for a bit. I was like, just don't ask questions. Just please, I'll drop them off. And then I sent my oldest daughter down with my mom. My oldest son, he's on his own already. So I sent her down with my mom, and now I'm like panicking. Like, what am I gonna do? Like 48 hours? I was like, I don't even think I can afford the U-Haul. And so We broke everything down. Like my son and his friend came. They helped us put the stuff in the storage, and they're like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I have no idea." So I spent 5 or 6 days in hotels, and where it hit me, it was actually 2 years ago today. It was February 20th of 2023, where I get a text from the owner. Now, I've been homeless for a couple of days now. I get a text from the owner saying so and so is coming in at 5:30 tonight to join. No, how are you? Do you need anything? And it was at that moment I was like, this guy has no intentions of paying me, like none. It's like I just split up my kids and I'm bouncing around hotels. And so I swallowed my pride and I texted my mom and I was like, "Can I come back?" And that ended my streak because at the time I was the only kid that didn't move back home. I was the only one. So,
Oh.
so that streak got busted, but I had to swallow the pride and be like, "You got to do what you got to do." And
Mhm.
so I went back home, and then come to find out, mom needed help too. So like I'm stubborn. Like I will hold on to the very end if I think it can work out. And she's stubborn too. She just didn't want to admit that it's nice having an extra set of hands because having my daughter down there was a big help for her already. Then when
Yeah.
I got there, I got to do the stuff that dad used to do after he passed. So there was definitely like 5 years worth of leaves built up out there. Well, maybe three
Oh.
years at the time. It's 5 years now, but just leaves and like wood that had to be moved, things that had to be cleaned up, and so like when I first got there, I just buried myself in work,
Yeah.
and like I paused my podcast because I was like, how can I get up here and talk about all this stuff when I'm living in hell right now? But it was actually when I rebooted it, it's like how the universe works. Like people talk about manifestation and they think it's all just rah rah. But like the very first guest I interviewed told me about a time when she moved from Vancouver, Canada to Hollywood because she wanted to break into that industry. She said I knocked on every door until I got a yes. And that just hit me. I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
sitting here trying to rack my brain, raking leaves, 5 hours a day. I was like, get out there and just start asking people. And so I just started applying everywhere. I went up to my local high school, started coaching again. Right when because at first I was gonna pivot away from fitness, like I was just gonna go into digital marketing. But then once I started coaching again, it relit the fitness fire, and I was
Mhm.
like, this is where I belong. And this gym, well, this is the second location. There's a location down about 20 minutes from here too, and that one's closer to where I live. But I walked into that gym. That was the first one and only one I walked into. Hit a home run. So I walked up to the track, got a coaching job, walked into the gym, got hired here. And it was like I think it was 90 days later. He handed me the keys and he said, "Do your thing."
Oh.
He's like I'd be foolish to try to force my way on you when your way is clearly working. He's like, so just it's yours. He's like, just run it the best way you see fit. And so coming out of that, so now I'm an author. I coach. So that first coaching job I was volunteering. Now I'm the head coach at the local high school in Narragansett. So between coaching, doing the podcast, start a second podcast, and for this year so far, I have 40 speaking gigs lined up. And it
Wow.
was it was just from that one little sentence that woman shared on my podcast. That was all it took to get me out of that funk and back on the path of where I need to be.
And imagine all the things that you learned and all of that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was. I learned so much. Well, now I know life absolutely cannot break me. It absolutely can. Being told I'd never run a jump again, completely having to revamp everything, getting divorced and becoming a single parent, and while working full time as a restaurant manager, it's like I've been through so much stuff. But like I said, it just taught me that life cannot break me. Like no matter what pops up, I got the blueprint to get through it. Like I call myself now emotionally bulletproof.
And that's where this book came from that you've created, right? Which is helping others do the same thing, that when they go through their challenges to find the good in it. What is it I can learn, right?
Yes.
And how
Yes.
can I
And
get
since
through
I've
this?
been back home, Sorry. And since I've been back home, mom's had a knee replacement surgery,
Oh.
and knock on wood, she just beat breast cancer. So
Oh,
so
bless
so
her
so
heart.
being able to be there for her through those times, because like we were talking the other day, because like with my daughter, she's like, she's like, eventually she's got to get out there. She's got to get out there. I said, I know, I do too. She's like, I'm not worried about you. She's like, you can stay as long as you want to, because like I I pay half the bills, so it's not like I'm freeloading. You know what I mean? So
Right,
like
right.
I'm an asset for her. I mean, my daughter
Absolutely.
kicks in too. But like when we first got there, I told her, I said, how to not get kicked out 101. I said, we have to become an asset. Like if
Yeah,
we're an asset, we can take this opportunity and build something. Like that's
yeah.
how I was able to finish my book. Like it took me 3 years, but then once I got back there, I had more time as I'm rebuilding myself. So I
Right.
took that downtime where a lot of people would spend it watching TikTok videos. I got back to writing my book, and it's about
Mhm.
what you do with the opportunity. So I have the opportunity
Correct.
to be back home, and the title of my second book is going to be called "From My Mother's Basement."
Oh. You hit something really when you were just speaking, you hit something really important, and that's, you know, what you do with the time that you have. Because I'll tell you, the old Lisa, the unhealed Lisa, when something would knock me down, it would take me so far down that I just couldn't do anything. It's not that I necessarily climbed in bed and didn't do anything like, some people have done, but it made me just sit on the couch and not do anything. It absolutely defeated me. And now, as I've done some healing, and the healing does so much, but the mindset I have now is, okay, well, I can't do that right now. So I've got this free time. So what can I do? What can I do? And it's not just to fill my time, but it's to chip away and get things done that I want to get done. Like, we only have so much in a day. And I'm just saying this because you didn't experience this, but I experienced it, where I wasted so much time. And I'm not
Mm.
being judgmental against myself. It's because of where I was at and what I was going through. But the hope is that as you are healing, that doesn't happen as much, and you do begin to be more productive and have the energy and the motivation to do the stuff that you really want to do. Because I sit and I think about, oh well, I always want to do that. Well, why am I not doing that now? What am
Yeah,
I waiting for? What am I waiting
yeah,
for? What's the thing that's going to tell me, oh, okay, now? Why don't I do it now? It's because I just went through life without really thinking. I just did it because I was in survival mode. And now I'm purposely thinking things through because I have the brain space. I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm not in a victim mindset. So I have the brain space to slow down and methodically think this stuff through, right?
yes. See, I like that you said survival mode, because
Yeah.
I started in survival mode when all of that stuff went down.
Sure.
But now I tell people I'm in creation mode.
Right.
I'm in creation mode. It's like this is I'm not working. I'm creating something that cannot be taken away from me, and stuff that can be left behind long after I'm gone. Like
Right.
on my podcast, I do
Okay.
331 episodes, and that's gonna stay behind when I'm gone. The
Right.
book, and then the second book that I'm working on, all that stuff is gonna be breadcrumbs. So like as
Yes.
people are looking for self improvement and looking for ways to better themselves, I'm gonna have all of this content left behind. So now it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when my time is up. It doesn't matter, because that's how you get immortality. Like
Right.
people still talk about Zig Ziglar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because he left and Jim Rohn, they left whole bodies of work behind, and
Yeah.
they're still going to be making an impact long after their deaths. And that's what I'm working on now. Like that was the moment when I realized that the restaurant industry wasn't for me for life. Like I spent 20 years in there, but it's like, what am I really leaving behind? It's like, yeah, well, we can give people moments, but I'm not really leaving anything that's legacy defining.
Right.
I said, so I want to pivot into something that's bigger than me,
Hmm.
and helping somebody conquer self doubt. That is better than any dollar amount I could receive.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree. I agree. Well, this has been really great. Let me ask you one last question because I know you got to go. What do you want to leave our listeners with?
I want to leave you with, you can do it. It sounds simple enough, but it really is. Like, I was speaking on a show the other day, and they said, "Why is change so hard?" I said, "Because people don't really want to do it. Like, change is not hard. I
Yeah.
upended my world in a 20-second decision, dropping those keys on the desk. You know, I upended everything in my work. I walked away from clients that were with me for 10 years, 10, 12 years. People who are like family, they're like my little sisters and brothers that I'm training. Walked away from those relationships, from those bonds. But that had to crumble for me to get here. And a
Hmm.
lot of people aren't willing to face that crumble.
Right. Right.
That,
Right. Oh,
that's
I
the
love
thing.
that. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. So, there's probably something better on the other side of that. Get to the other side of that. Right. Well, yeah,
Yes.
I love that. Well, if our listeners want to reach out to you, how could they connect with you?
So the best way is I'm most active on Facebook. I'm old school, right? So it's at R Foster 74. I have two pages, and the other one is just my name at Robert B Foster. And I do have Instagram also at Robert underscore B underscore Foster.
Okay, we'll have all those in the show notes so everybody can
Thank you.
reach out to you if they need to. But thank you
And you
for.
can grab the book. Sorry, you can grab the
Oh
book
yeah,
at shutupandgrindbook.com.
there you go. Yeah, that's very important. Well, thank you so
Yes,
much for sharing your story and really giving us some really good little golden nuggets on how to kind of just keep moving forward. Right, that's the goal. Keep moving forward.
absolutely. Yes.
Well,
Thank you very much for having me. This was a great conversation.
yes, it was. Thank you.